Focus is an entirely untapped gold mine. I know this because I see it within myself and I see it all around me. I was just driving down the street today and I noticed that I dropped off my kids at school, and the first thing I did was I pulled out my phone and I started checking things. And as I was cruising around the corner and passing people who were on walks with their dogs, I saw at least 5 people with their head down like this, cranked down, looking at their phones. And we live in a world and a society where our attention and our focus is an undeveloped and underutilized asset that we have. In fact, I find myself and so many people around me giving our attention to devices and loud noises and shiny objects so much more easily than we ever used to. Now, I have the luxury of going out into nature often, and so I spend days, weeks at a time out in the wilderness, and there's an interesting reset that happens. At first, there's that sense of my brain being trained to look for something to capture my attention. But once I can crack through that ceiling, all of a sudden my brain resets itself and it doesn't want to go and find a distraction anymore. It wants to take in more of what I'm surrounded by. So focus, attention, these are things that have been robbed from us. We've given our focus and our attention to our screens, to social media, to news headlines. Even if you compare to 20 years ago, we used to just catch the evening news once a day, 6 o'clock. When people are sitting down to dinner, there would be a news broadcast. Maybe there'd be a special 60 Minutes edition with Barbara Walters that would come on Tuesday nights or something like that. But now we have news around the clock. We have information accessible to us at all times. So there is no lack of places and spaces to place our attention. But here's the trick. Focus and attention, which I use those two interchangeably at times. These are two things that we can train ourselves to direct more intentionally to what I want to put my attention on or towards. So for example, if I sit quietly in a room and I focus in on an area of my body, let's say just the top of my left toe. I could be sitting, I could be standing, there could be noises happening around me, but I can direct all of my awareness to that spot on my body, whether it's my big toe or something else, and see how long can I sustain that focus before my mind tries to run to the next thing. Because what's happening inside my brain is, even if I can get myself enough time to connect with and locate my left big toe, as soon as I do, what happens in my brain is it says, okay, great, found my left big toe, now what? Found that other part of my shoulder, now what? Our brains are so conditioned nowadays to look for the next thing that we've lost the ability to sustain focus and attention for a long period of time. I mean, I don't even need to go into the science about the rates of diagnosed ADHD and attention disorders. It's become a syndrome that we can classify because it's so difficult for us to sustain our attention. Meanwhile, our ancestors who were tracking and hunting and spending days and weeks sometime pursuing animal packs and herds to hunt from and to feed their families required so much single focus and attention. One of my favorite people ever, all time, Bruce Lee, said that the successful warrior is an ordinary man with laser-like focus, because he knew that what was required was to be able to put all of my attention and energy on the most important thing. And so if you find yourself in life often running into distractions and you have projects that don't ever quite get done, you start something but you never finish it or see it all the way through, or you get stuck or frustrated somewhere in the middle of whatever it is that you're up to, chances are it has something to do with your focus and your attention. So if you want to gain better command of your focus and your attention, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Different styles of meditation. And not just meditation, sitting silently and seeing what comes, but putting your focus and your attention on specific parts of your body, or a specific mantra, or something that requires your undivided and completely devoted attention placed onto it, and then seeing how long you can sustain that. Maybe it's humming to yourself or singing, but notice how quickly your mind can jump from one thing to the next. So I wanted to bring presence to this because even right now, maybe your attention wandered to 500 different things while you were listening to this episode, but I want to bring attention to how often our focus and attention is we give it away. And it's not even a conscious giveaway. It just floats out of my hands. And that's something that you can reclaim, that you can take back into your life for yourself, so that you can now start to direct your attention and your focus where you want it to go. not to be distracted by the things that will pull you off of your path, but to stay focused on where you're headed and where you're going. Because we all know that's what's required to pursue a big mission, a big vision in life. Got to have that ability to zero in, to focus, to tune out all the noise. There was a great movie with Kevin Costner called For Love of the Game back in maybe the 90s, where he was a pitcher, major league pitcher, great storyline, and he would do this thing called, he would say, clear the mechanism, and all the noise in the stadium would just, it would kind of mute, and everything outside of the catcher's mitt would get blurry, and it was this visual depiction of him locking in and getting into the zone. And the same is true for fighter pilots and other areas of human performance that require that focus and attention to perform at the highest levels. But these are just ordinary humans who have prioritized laser-like focus. So just like Bruce Lee said, the successful warrior doesn't require anything special other than that laser-like focus. Focus on your training, focus on your development, focus on your insights, focus on your work, focus on the very next step without getting distracted and pulled off of the path. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you tune in next week for another Monday morning meditation. And while you're at it, if there's somebody in your life you know who has the tendency to wander from their attention or could really benefit from hearing a message about getting more locked in, more focused on what they're up to in their life, make sure you share this one with them. All right, peace out.